This is the Rayburn Tools CyberHammer Balance Drive cleaning and lubrication video. Thanks for watching. We're going to cover cleaning and lubrication of the CyberHammer Balance Drive. The Balance Drive is identifiable any CyberHammer model that has a hex screw in the back. That's our current 200 series, our current 700 series, and the current Grand CyberHammers. It's worth noting that the Grand CyberHammer uses exactly the same mechanism as the 700 series. These are identifiable once again by the screw on the back, as opposed to the C-clip that's used on the older style models. There's another video for how to maintain those C-clip ones, open those up and work with them. They need work more frequently, and they're harder to open up, much harder to open up than these balance drive systems. We've worked really hard on making these extremely robust and easy to maintain in the rare event that they do need any maintenance. So this video will cover all that, all the basics on that. There's another video on the C-clips if you do decide that you want to mess with one of those. There's another video on these balance drives as well that covers way more detail than you need. Most people just want to watch this and be done with it. All right, so we will need the following tools. Number one, this hex key, or Allen driver, hex driver, Allen key, whatever you want to call it. It's a 1/8 inch hex key. Just make sure that it's got a good sharp end here, that the business end is not worn out. It is possible, if you've got one that is worn out, to also wear out the back screw here. I recommend not using poor tools to work on a high quality tool. Enough said about that. You will need some lubricant. The lubricant we highly recommend is 3M Super Lube, and it doesn't typically come in these very fancy little containers. This is a CF or an SD card, memory card container. It's a very slim, mobile way to carry around a 1/4 of an ounce of the stuff. The 3M Super Lube is the best trap work grease we've ever heard of. It's synthetic, which means it's very consistent, and the lubricative properties are just wonderful. It doesn't break down over time like the old VJ Lube or any organic-based lubricants do, harden up or anything like that. It doesn't gum up. It's PTFE-based. It is food grade, which anytime you can reduce toxic gick in your life, especially when it's right next to your hands, that's a great idea. Quality of life and all that. The hex key, the lubricant, and some kind of an applicator tool. I happen to be using a dental pick type awl. You can use your finger. You can use a small toothpick. You can use a small screwdriver. One of those fancy bamboo stirs from a coffee shop. Just something to apply this grease in a controlled fashion. And finally, you will need a fancy paper towel. The Burger King ones work fine. Panera Bread works just as good. Starbucks may be a little bit cut above the rest. I personally prefer these beautiful, high quality shop blue paper towels. Here we go. Step one is going to be to disassemble this. Step two, let's just take a look at the interior, make sure everything's beautiful inside, and clean it. You know, get any gunk that's built up in there somehow. This is a sealed mechanism, so you shouldn't be getting ingress of anything. But it's possible you've blasted off some of the anodization, or some of the grease has been pounded flat. Who knows how this stuff happens. And then we're going to reassemble it and clean the exterior. So that's all going to be done in about 10 times as long as it does to actually do it. So number one, disassemble. We're going to take this Allen key, put it in the back. The torque spec for this is finger tight. That's a metric finger tight. And off it comes. Just spin it with your fingers here. I'll be throwing in some tips and tricks here as well, and some nomenclature. Everybody loves nomenclature. Number one, this part one, your screw. This is a 1032 stainless button head socket screw, 5/8 inch long. It's a 50-cent screw at most good hardware stores. Your back cap, which is a specialty part designed specifically for the CyberHammer. It's different on the 200 series. Your back bearing, which is this bronze piece here, which is on the 700 series and the Grand Impact hammers. Your head, which is the main keyway here. The extension. And on the 700 series and Grand CyberHammers, you have the front bearing. Pro tip, when we're cleaning this, which is our next step, just make sure you maintain the orientation of this front bearing. That keeps things nice and consistent. So let's take this off. Up is in. Up is in. If you do get that turned around, it doesn't usually even affect things. If it does feel a little bit different and you don't like the feel, and here I am just cleaning it off. We're going to clean off this bearing seat. These flat surfaces here. If you don't like the feel, you just take it out. It's a quick fix. Flip this bearing around, put it back in, and you're done. Okay. There we go. Clean off the interior bore of that bearing, the exterior surfaces, and then force your paper towel into the head here. Helps if you work off a corner. And just, there we go. And we're going to clean off this, this flat bearing surface on the back and the front. Just a little bit in there. And this is nice, clean lubricant. This is basically fresh off the anodizer, but this would make it perfect. There we go. Good. Set that aside. Clean off the back bearing as well, because we can. And while it's apart, we may as well. Can you dust my piano while you've got it open? All right, here we go. So let's lubricate it now that we've got it cleaned. Obviously, we're inspecting for any damage. It's extremely unlikely that you will ever manage to damage one of these in normal use. They're super tough. Here we go. You can see I'm not using a whole lot of this lubricant at all. You really just need a thin film of it over the rotating bearing surfaces. There we go. That's more than enough. A little more for the bearing. I'm going to just swirl it around in the center here. Put it on the back just a little bit. And then put it on here. And that's all there is to it. Okay, now for the back bearing. This is the surface that needs to be lubricated. Once again, just needs a thin film. Less is more. There we go. That's all there is to it. Let's put this this extension in here in the front. That's the side that says Rayburn on the 700 series, on the 200 series. And it's pretty obvious on the Grand CyberHammers as well. The 5-degree angle needs to be pointing down. If you put it in backwards, it will work, but you'll get to the piano and realize real quick why we have it set up this way. Screw this in here. There we go. Righty-tighty. And this entire process is about as difficult as changing a center pin. on the hammer shank. Maybe easier because there's no technical fit issues. All right, clean it off with a paper towel, and we are done. That's all there is to it. It's an incredibly simple, robust system. We're very proud of this. If you have any issues with your CyberHammer that this doesn't cover, go ahead and look at the full maintenance and cleaning video that's available on our YouTube channel, or contact us. Our contact info is at rayburntools.com, REYBURN tools, TOOLS.com. Thanks again for watching, and enjoy your CyberHammer.